recognition.
Move strike last word.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank the chairman. I alluded earlier to the fact that I'm not in Washington because I believed it important to stay in Texas to meet with constituents of mine who are suffering the ravages of an open border. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But it's real. I always get the smirks and the laughter from some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle when we talk about this issue. But what I'll say is on this particular point, the gentleman from Kentucky has left his chair. I don't know if he's in earshot, but I take to heart what he has pointed out about the impact of polio. My dad had polio, got it in 1949, before the Salk vaccine. I'm sitting here on my front porch. You can see a tractor over my shoulder. Just yesterday, I was out there working on that with my dad. He's 78. He has a tracheostomy now because of post-polio syndrome. Same thing the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Cohen, was just referencing. So I know post-polio syndrome. I know polio. It has made my dad very unable to walk, barely get around today. And I understand the importance of vaccines. I gave the polio vaccine to my children. I took the polio vaccine. We're blessed to be able to do that. But there were many, many years that led to that. Many, many years that led to the decision that local governments under the power of our Constitution left to them to make that decision so that the people most close to their government can make a decision about something as invasive as a shot, as something as Mr. Cohen just sort of briefly pushed aside. Oh, it's medicine. But through the all-knowing power of those on this committee, we know what you must put in your arm, regardless of whether you have natural immunity. We are talking about the foundations of our country, y'all. We have nothing left. We have nothing left if we are not able to make decisions for our loved ones, our families, and ourselves without the power of government stepping in from Washington, D.C., to tell us what we will do about our loved ones. I want to be very clear. I co-sponsor the remarks of my colleagues that have said this is unlawful, unconstitutional. The president does not have the authority to do this. Let me be also clear. I don't need the Article 3 Judiciary branch to tell me yay or nay on that question. The fact of the matter is, the president of the United States does not have this power. And I am saying to all of my constituents, to the governor of Texas, do not follow this executive order. Do not fear the power of the federal government. Stand up along your neighbors, your communities, your friends, and say no. If you're in a small business in Texas or anywhere else in this country, don't believe you have to listen to an unconstitutional, unlawful order from the president of the United States. You do not. And governors in states, stand up and say no. I support this amendment. We're going to try to operate within this structure, but I want to be very clear that there is no basis in law for this, and we're not going to follow it. I, for one, am never going to tell any of you or tell anybody else whether I've had this vaccine or not. It's none of your damn business. You're not going to know. I'm standing on that wall, and I'm going to stand on that wall for my constituents. And I mean stand on that wall. This isn't going to happen. I'm not going to listen to the president of the United States violate the Constitution to then interfere with my family and my loved ones. My 12-year-old son is my call, Mr. Cohen. We will make that decision, my wife and I. No one else, and certainly no one in Washington, D.C. We will work together in the people of our community. We will follow the structure of the government that we've fought for over 250 years to ensure that no one individual has the power to step over liberty. That is what is at stake here today. I can go through all the information that my colleague from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, and others have gone through about natural immunity. We haven't talked about all of the various treatments that are being ignored by the federal government, prohibiting Americans from being able to access monoclonal antibodies, the ivermectin, the HCQ, and all the things that are out there that it's at least possible for others to use, and the federal government standing in the way of that. We can talk about that, But I want to be clear in my last 7 seconds. I will not tell you whether I'm getting the vaccine, and I will defend my constituents to the wall that they don't have to do it either.